My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. All right, welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to dig into a topic called What's Not the Problem? And I'll explain a little bit more because you may be saying that in your own head going, that doesn't make sense. And so I'm going to take you through a little bit of a journey that may be pretty familiar. It may be something that you've experienced in the past and now you're completely out of this space, but maybe you didn't even realize that this was going on. This is something as a coach, I have seen this time and time again. What's interesting is I see it in weight loss when a person desires weight loss and they just can't seem to see the results. But I've also seen this very intimately when I've been in coaching programs with other business owners, for example, and they just can't seem to get the results. And there's so many parallels to both, whether it's a business problem or a weight loss problem, a relationship problem, a financial problem. It's just interesting how so many parallels go into this. And so today what I want to do is really bring this just kind of forefront in front of you that now you're hyper aware to what's not the problem. So what I see happen is someone doesn't see results, or they're really frustrated because they're working out all the time, they're eating reasonably well, but the scale goes down for a second and then it comes right back up. And so we're constantly playing this net loss, net gain. And I mean, it can be one of the most frustrating spaces for anyone with any kind of goal. Think about it from like a business standpoint. It's like you gain a certain amount of clients, lose a couple clients, gain a couple clients, and yet we're still at the same net client number. It can be very frustrating when you desire growth. Or for example, in weight loss, when you desire the scale to go down, yet we keep kind of negating any results that we get. Have you ever experienced where all week you have been on fire? Reasonably speaking, you've done all the movement, you've ate really well, and then all of a sudden the weekend came and you had a bunch of fun things planned. Maybe you ate a little bit differently than what you normally would have done. And then all of a sudden you get back on the scale come Monday morning and you're like, what the heck? All the results that I saw last week is completely gone. Now, I will tell you that that's not always the truth, especially if you dined out. And let's just say maybe you ate food that maybe had more sodium, which is very, very typical of any time we dine at a restaurant, is you're going to hold on to some water weight. And here's how you can really test that theory is if by Wednesday, you're right back on the scale that you were the Friday before, you didn't gain any weight. That was just purely sodium water retention. And so by that next Friday, we're 100% back on. And that's where it's really cool to get very intimate with knowing what the scale does, depending on what food you eat, where you eat, how much you exercise, how much you sleep. And that's where it can keep you in so much control. So let's dig back into this a little bit deeper. So let's say every single week you're frustrated because the scale is not budging. Or let's just say maybe that scale is going up and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I'm looking for. So we have to ask ourselves some real questions. We have to ask ourselves, am I creating enough of a calorie deficit? Am I creating too much of a calorie deficit one day and then the next day consuming too many calories? That is definitely something that I see happen more times than women realize, is they restrict too hard the day before. Therefore, the next day, you don't even realize it, but you're just so hungry. Or maybe you restrict for multiple days and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm starving. So there has to constantly be this balance in this, but I also want to speak into what's not the problem. So here's the thing. When we start working and getting the foundational pieces in place, such as sleep, drinking water, those are now no longer the problem. Okay, those are just normal. That's a given. I always do that. Or let's say, for example, always gotten 7,500 to 10,000 steps in. That is not the problem. Okay, so the thing we want to realize is like, okay, cool. I got this, check, check, check. And this helps us uncover what the real problem is. I will tell you that 90% of us that desire weight loss, it is 90% of the time food. And so this is one where it can get really frustrating because you feel like, man, I've been at this long enough. I should have seen all these results. But again, it's such a moving target every single day, depending on what we consume. And last time I checked, we all don't just eat 5 packets of food and a reasonable dinner. Like, no, that does not work either. But what's not the problem here? What are we finding that we're doing well? And this is where I want you to stay super, super focused, because it's like, okay, reasonably speaking, I have this foundational stuff down. It is working. So what is the problem? And that's where we can start really chunking up, or chunking down is what we call it, in understanding, okay, what are we missing? Sometimes we have feelings around food that we unconsciously do, where we may grab a handful of nuts here, a couple pieces of cheese there, and we really don't think about it. I've known women to do this and they're like, well, I didn't track it because I didn't think it really mattered. And it's like, hey, those are super dense foods that really add up. And we almost do this stuff unconsciously. So we want to dig in and understand, okay, what is really holding back? Is there something that I can gain by not reaching my goal? Now, let me explain that a little bit deeper. Sometimes we do not change behaviors. We do not change who we are because there's something that we can gain by not doing the action. Now, there was a story that was told to me, this has been a few years ago, about a man who was sick and he went to the hospital. He went to the hospital. He told all of his family and friends, I'm really sick. I have to go to the hospital. And he got all this love, all this support. People were visiting him, holding his hand, praying for him, and they were there for him in this time when he was so sick. Yet the doctor kept saying, hey, you should be getting well. Your numbers are looking really good. But the man insisted that, oh, I'm not well, doc. I certainly couldn't leave here. And it got the doctor to thinking there was a secondary gain, that this patient was receiving all this love, all this support, where before he was a lonely old man who never heard from loved ones, never had any friends over. But the second he went into the hospital, now all of a sudden he's getting all this attention. So sometimes, not always, in a journey that we're on, have ulterior motives that maybe we don't even realize are creeping in. And so I wanted to bring this to light here today, because this could be something that you just keep in your back pocket, or you stay in tune with, that, man, do I have something to gain by not hitting my goal. See, this one is a tough one to pinpoint yourself. Now, I've given you an example that you could just clear as day go, wow, this person got more attention because they were quote unquote sick than when they were well. So, of course, this person is going to want to be quote unquote sick because they got all the love and support. But we need to ask ourselves, do we stay this same weight because of an ulterior motive? Because of something that's a part of our identity, potentially? And so it's something to consider and to look into. If you're seeing that scale just not move, is there something that I can gain by staying the same? Now, some things that have turned up in just my time coaching women is stay the same because this is who I have always been. I have always had a weight loss problem. I talk with my girlfriends about it. I'm always frustrated in telling my husband. I'm always constantly looking for the next diet. And we just go on and on and on. And it just becomes a part of our identity that I struggle with weight loss. I have heard women say that over and over and over again. And I'm like, you do? Are you sure? Are you really sure? And so this is something that you want to really look into and understand and say, have I created an identity around this? Have I created something that I need to let go of? Because when I let go of it, boom, like results happen in an instant. You know, I can tell you at different moments in my life when I had to remove a false belief. You know, I used to think that, marketing was just so terrible. It was so gimmicky. And I could barely hit send when I was sending out, maybe a promotional email. When in reality, I was just excited to help more people. And by putting out this email, it gives someone the opportunity to say, hey, yeah, no, this would really be helpful. Or what you said really hits home. And even I had to have a shift in why it was okay to put marketing out there and it wasn't gimmicky. I wasn't trying to pull the wool over someone, right? Like I wanted to sell them a solution that I know they haven't been able to solve this problem on their own. And so even myself, I've had to really get out of my own way and my own thoughts that were not even true. So when we look into this and we look at the scale isn't moving or it goes up and down, we have to ask ourselves, is there something else that I'm not considering? Is there something that I feel is a problem? Do I know what's not the problem? And should I finding out if there's any kind of secondary gain? Is there something that I want to hold on to? And I know that sounds silly, but like I used to hold on to, oh, I'm such an anxious person. Now I pride myself in not being an anxious person. I pride myself in being a very calm, cool, collected. But what was interesting is that's what I desired. And that's what I worked heavily on changing who I am. And honestly, I put in the reps. I put myself in situations that constantly challenged me that now are very, very normal. I remember public speaking. My voice would just crack and quiver. And now it's like I lead multiple calls multiple times per week. I put myself out there, on this podcast and in Facebook Lives where before I used to get so rattled, but it was putting in the reps. It's also having conviction in who you are now. So I'm going to speak into this because this is going to help you move out of what's not the problem. How do I get this weight loss to finally just push and pull and go and just go as quickly as possible? So we have to start visualizing who it is that we truly want to become. And we have to be convicted enough that, yes, hell yes, that's what I want like yesterday. See, I've had multiple times in my life where it was almost like this tug and pull of, nah, girl, not you. You can't do that. Where in reality, it was like, well, why not? Like, why not? And so I've had to really work, even myself, to put myself in situations where it's like, you are this person. Or if you're not this person right now, you're becoming her day after day after day. Because you show up every single day with this visualization of this is just who I am. I gave myself an alter ego of Fit Arin. This is what Fit Arin does. And I tell that to clients all the time because it's like, hey, you've got to become this person, even if you don't believe it to be true, but you start aligning the actions and the beliefs every single day. So what can we do? What can we do to truly look into this and ask ourselves, okay, what's not the problem? So some things that we can do is we can start to really ask ourselves some questions. How are you so successful at not hitting the goal? Now, I know that sounds really, really funny, but how are you so successful at not hitting your goal? So that's a reality check type of question where you ask yourself, okay, what am I doing that's not allowing me to hit the goal? If we were to objectively step back, I promise you, each of us would come clean and say, hey, okay, I had too many here. I had too much there. I just wasn't as diligent. I got all in my feels here. And that would help us understand the real problem, okay? Because sometimes it's not so much the food, but the reason we consumed the food in the first place, okay? So it's important to stay super objective, super unattached, especially in a weight loss journey, to understanding the real problems that lie. And a lot of times they're really not even that deep. It's just a matter of like, hey, I had a really tough day at work. And you know what? I had the feels, therefore I had a glass of wine or 2 or 3. I had a bag of chips. I had a this or that, right? Because they were around. I had Halloween candy because it was still sitting around. I mean, listen, there's all kinds of things. Or someone shipped in donuts and Arin, they were so good. And it's like, I get it. So you want to ask yourself, how are you so successful at not hitting your goal? That can help us really pinpoint some things that may be potentially holding you back. Another way to ask this question is, if you were to know what's the problem? That one is extremely direct. It's extremely direct and it's very, very good to like really pinpoint, hey, if you were to know, meaning giving you control, what would you say is the problem? Then there's another question, really goes along the lines with what I've been saying is there anything to gain by not solving the problem? See, sometimes people set financial goals and they set these like big financial goals that just, really stretch you. Yet at the end of the day, they just make exactly what they needed. And yet they still struggle month after month, living paycheck to paycheck. And they're setting this low bar, like, I don't get what I want. And so what is happening in those moments is you're setting this lofty goal, not truly believing in it, not wholeheartedly, yes, I can do this, therefore I'm going to align my actions. Because here's the deal. We can't just like woo-woo put it out there, right? Like we've got to do the things that it takes. It's just like with the scale. The scale will not move unless we align the actions. No different with a financial goal, business goal, whatever it is. And then another kind of bizarre question that you can ask yourself is, how could you not take action? And that one can uncover the like, well, how could I not take action? Well, I could do this or that or this. And reasonably speaking, especially in weight loss, we can go, well, yeah, I here I did this, here I didn't get my steps in, here, I really didn't focus on water. I sat and I worked because there was a deadline. And this is where we can truly start uncovering. And the thing that I want most women to understand is we just need to stay objective, stay very objective to what is the result that I desire, remove all the emotions that we're feeling. And here's the thing I will challenge you is if you are feeling emotions around your goal, you got to work through that. You got to understand, especially if they're negative. If they're positive, cool, like high five and let's go get them yesterday. Like I literally see women all the time set their goal, sign up, they join my program, and they just go. And they just go, and that scale goes down, 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 down. Now, other women, I'll see them get in my program and they get frustrated. And it's like, oh crap, now I actually have to do the work. And I'm being genuine, but I see this happen. And it's like, well, I don't want to do the work. Kind of like, in a very childlike, I don't feel like it. Well, cool. You're not going to feel like it. You just got to get into motion. And so that's where we want to just look at a weight loss goal and just ask ourselves, are we creating a bigger problem than really exists? I mean, think about a child, a child that's like 5 years old or younger, and actually it can be a little bit older. And have you ever seen a child just blow up over, you gave them the wrong colored pencil, right? And I'm not speaking from experience here, but like you gave them the wrong colored pencil. Now you and I can both be giddy and laugh and like, oh my gosh, that's so silly. But in their eyes, it is literally the end of the world. Well, adults can function like that too. And I want to say this in the most sincere heart. And it's because we don't want to deviate. We don't want to change from what we've done. It is harder to write with a blue pen versus a red pen when you're always used to writing with the red pen. If you always go through the drive-through and get fast food, it is hard to want to go home and meal prep or cook a dinner after a long day because you've always gone to the drive-through. So how do you change that? You have to become this new version of you. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel awkward. But we need to focus on what's not the problem. We're always focused on all of our problems. I can't meal prep. I don't know what to fix. Listen, I can't make it for you. If I could, I would. And actually, like a meal prep service is just fantastic. You have to ask yourself, what is not the problem? Okay, I can, get a meal service because that's just going to make my life easier. Or, okay, I can objectively sit down and kind of map it out. Okay, what sounds good? Nothing sounds good. Cool. It doesn't have to sound good. But what would be the nuts and bolts, very mechanical? Because if we constantly throw like, I can't do this, you're never going to bust through it. Have to stay very mechanical and asking yourself, what is not the problem? Cool. I always know I have this for breakfast. That's pretty easy. Lunch, I know that I like these things. These are quick. These are easy. And yeah, reasonably speaking, by Friday, that would still sound good. Cool. Check. And then it's like, okay, dinner. Now I got to kind of sort through and think about this as to where are we going to be? Am I going to have time to cook? Do I need it to be prepared ahead of time? And then reasonably speaking, you just wash, rinse, repeat. I know with our food, it's so funny. Like right now, I literally keep cooking once a week this creamy chicken dish, but our kids love it. My husband loves it. And it's so, I can make it without even the recipe now. And I feel so good about it. So want to keep asking yourself, what's not the problem? Because that keeps you in, hey, this is what I got. This is what I'm doing. It feels so good. And so we have to ask ourselves, where are we problems? Where do we need to remove these problems so that when we remove them, we just bulldoze towards our goal? And how do we become this woman that we don't even know who she is? It's so foreign right now to us. We kind of sort of like, yeah, one day I really want to be her, but most days I'm like, girl, there's no way. Stay in that possibility. that even on those tough days, those really tough days where you just want to eat all the things, or you want really step back and say, dang, what am I doing? Am I trying to escape from something? What am I escaping from? I'm trying to make change. Of course, it feels weird right now. I want you to go to bed with a slight edge of hunger and be okay with it, because you're in a calorie deficit, and that is a good thing. And here's the cool thing, that subsides. Okay. So gotta ask yourself these really critical questions that help you uncover, man, what is holding me back? Should I know? The other thing that I'll end on with this is sometimes we think there's a problem. There's really no problem. I'm going to say it this way. A lot of times we think there's a problem, and a lot of times there isn't a problem. We just need to do the things. Okay. All right. So that was about 25 minutes of tough love. You got this, ladies. Get after any goal you want. There's no goal you can't hit. We live in an abundant world that's full of opportunity, full of possibility. And here's the cool thing. If your goal is around your body, got it. Got it, and then some. You can do anything with that body. And if you need help, know what to do. Just reach out to me. You can reach out to me on any of the socials. And I look forward to supporting you and helping you through anything that you feel is holding you back. Because I know 9 times out of 10, it's really not holding you back. It's actually you that's holding yourself back. Got it. Go get them.